This is WobblyWallaby, and today I'll be analyzing the new Time Wish machine for August 10th to October 10th, 2022. I'll let you know which are good and also provide free-to-play alternatives so you can spend your BCC and reunion proof efficiently. Luckily, the Time Wish machine between regions are the same now, so Global and Sea all have the same stuff. For the free-to-play alternatives, all of the items can be either bought from the exchange or obtained from doing story quests. Let's begin with the blue Gachas, which cost between 10 or 12 reunion proof. I'll only cover the ones of interest since there are some really bad ones. First is Scarlet Face Gear, which is a face item that gives plus 10 damage to ordinary monsters, which excludes bosses. You also take less damage. This face is really good for new players since plus 10 damage is really great. This is excellent for farming or dealing with weekly instances with tough normal bosses such as Echoing Corridor or Oracle Dungeon. For free-to-play alternatives, you can use Silent Sinking for 4% skill damage or the Angel Spirit for 4% attack and magic attack. The monocle is also great for magic users since it gives magic attack plus 5% and each refined level gives you magic attack plus 1%. Next is the Wind Chimes Fan. If you're doing skills that are wind damage, like Novice Guardians that do Cart Tornado, this is extremely good. In Legend difficulty for Museum and Isles, which has high wind damage reductions, this could be offset by this back item, and is even strong enough to compete against some of the best back items in the game. Here I am in Legend Isles 1F using Love Goddess, which is one of the best back items, since it gives final damage plus 10%. I'll flash the rest of my gear that I'm using. I cast my buffs, and I won't use Magnum Break for these tests. While mounted with Hallucination Walk active, I deal 3.148 million damage to the boss. Now I switch to the Wind Chimes Fan. While mounted with Hallucination Walk active, I deal 3.172 million damage to the boss, which is better than the 3.148 million with Love Goddess. The free-to-play alternatives is the Devil Wings for 5% more damage and magic damage. Also Baby Owl for 5% more penetration and magic penetration. Next is Eternal Servant. This back item gives damage to demi-humans plus 5% and also has the Rage effect that will give an additional damage to demi-humans when doing auto attacks. This item is more useful in PvP, not so much for PvE. Also, unfortunately, the Rage effect is only for auto attacks. Personally, I don't find this item too useful, as it is quite limited, and mostly for PvP. For free-to-play alternatives, I would recommend the Devil Wing and Baby Owl. Next is Tears of Heaven, which will provide 2 int and ignore magic defense 6%. If you refine it to plus 6, you get an additional 2 int and ignore magic defense 6%. This face is nice for ignore magic defense, but if you can't get it to 6, you'll be very sad. For free-to-play alternatives, you can use the Evil Eye for the guaranteed 10% ignore magic defense, which I think is the safer bet for new players. Repairing gachas is a pain, and I wouldn't recommend wasting blue tickets or BCC to repair this item. Next is Eggshell Bew. This is a fantastic head item for PvP, because being able to prevent your equipment from being broken is super useful. I think this is a nice tool to have in case you're dealing with classes that can break your equipment. Unfortunately, there is no good free-to-play alternative since this effect really is what makes this gacha. If you need damage reduction in PvP, I would recommend the Midgard's Helm, which provides some demi-human damage reduction. Next is the Cloud Pillow Dream Mouth. The 8% damage to MVPs and minis is fantastic and is a must-have for those who frequently deal with bosses and don't have a better mouth item. I personally don't use this because I have the gacha Huge Bounty, which gives 10% damage to bosses, which is strictly better. If I didn't have this, I would use this item. The free-to-play alternative is the Butterfly Breath, which gives 5% damage to bosses. That's it for the relevant blue gachas. Next are the purple level items, which all cost 21 reunion proof. I will cover all 6. First is the Spring Player wishing for a harvesting year. What an insanely long name. This head item provides great critical damage, which can also be increased with your crit. This is a popular head item for auto attack classes, and I've seen it still being in use today. How good this headwear is highly dependent on how you set your attributes. If you happen to be a class that will max out luck because it benefits your other gear, then this is quite good. However, if you only have the minimal 100 crit, then this item doesn't do as much as you think it would. This headwear is very good for auto attack farming if you lack damage. I'd highly recommend it for new players since the added plus 10 crit and minimum plus 10% critical damage is very beneficial. Two free-to-play alternatives are the Luminous Niche for auto attack damage. If you get it a Refined 10, then this will also be very good. Against bosses, a Refined 4 or higher White Knight's Helm is quite good too. Next is the head item Abyssal Cry. This used to be a must-have headwear for many classes since it was able to activate the deposited Minoris effect when you had 2 Minoris cards equipped in your weapon and also 1 deposited in your handbook. As a result, you get 50% ignore defense, which is huge, so many non-auto attack classes basically use this. Also, if you're able to get it to plus 6, you also get 5% damage to bosses. A lot has changed since then, and now there are many ways to activate the extra damage to large monsters. For example, Ancient Equipment Armor can have a random attribute to give you up to 20% damage to large monsters. You can also deposit the Minoris Star card for extra damage to large monsters into your handbook. A free-to-play alternative is the plus 10 Glacier Power, which will give you 5% damage to large monsters. Next is the Mouth Dreamweave Silk. It provides 4% penetration and the freezing effect on targets. Damage-wise, Dreamweave Silk is decent, but where it really shines is in PvP. Freezing people is great, and I use this for PvP with my Novice Guardian. For free-to-play alternatives, they are the Butterfly Breath against bosses, and Abyss Whisper against normal monsters. Next is the Back Emerald Heart. It provides 8% HP and also helps recover HP for you and your teammates when taking damage. This is a great back for support classes. For free-to-play alternatives, you can use the Snowstorm Wings, which I've seen quite a lot in PvP, since it's able to reflect some of the abnormal status back to the attacker. It also has 5% HP boost. Another one is the Ancestral Serpent Sword, which also provides 5% HP and neutral damage reduction. Next is Starlight Ship. This head provides neutral damage plus 8% and damage to middle-sized monsters plus 5%. It also has a nice plus 1000 HP boost. This item is good for PvP, not so much for PvE. Doing only neutral damage boost is quite limited in my opinion, so personally I don't use this much. The free-to-play alternative is the Wagtail Crest for 5% neutral damage increase. Lastly is Sage's Book. This head provides wind, earth, water, and fire damage plus 5%. It also gives cast time variable minus 10%. This back item has not aged well. There are plenty of better back items these days. Also, cast time variable can be reduced through things like Ancient Equipment or minor advanced ruins. The Chant buff rune at level 15 gives variable cast time minus 15%, so this back item is pretty bad. For free-to-play alternatives, I would use the Devil Wings for the plus 5% magic damage, or the Vow of the Sea for skill damage percentage increase. Both are quite good for more damage. Good luck with your Time Wish Machine rolls. Which gacha did you find the most useful in this period of the Time Wish Machine? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.